Welcome to SYNKD On Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have Jason Lee with me, owner of Skyfrog Landscapes, as well as co-host of the Greener Side Up podcast. And also, when I was looking you up, you also own another business too.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
So, Panda Express.
Panda Express.
Awesome.
So we started that 2 years ago, and it was actually a spinoff of Skyfrog, our landscape contracting business. So we were trying to have an ease of logistics with our paver division with doing hardscaping. So we determined we were going to get a roll-off dumpster trailer with typical entrepreneurship that spurred the idea of having a completely separate business and trying to monetize that a little bit more. So it's going well. We're renting dumpsters, and we've got a cute little raccoon on the side of a dumpster. So Panda Express is in full.
That's great. Well, and we met probably about that same time 2 years ago at a SYNKD Live event where you brought some of your team. And we've just stayed in touch since, and love what you're doing. You came to another one of our SYNKD Live to be on Pod Row as well. We've also recently bonded over rotator cuff surgery.
Yes, absolutely. I see you're out of your sling, so that's nice to not have it on all the time.
Only when there's not people or moving things around me, you know?
Yep, I understand completely.
Awesome, Jason. Well, really, we wanted to have you on to talk about your upcoming event. So branching off into more different activities.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of things going on down here in Florida, and probably 2 or 3 years ago, I got more involved in our state organization, which is FNGLA, which stands for Florida Nursery Growers and Landscape Association. At our local level, with the Front Runners chapter is our area around Gainesville, Florida, and surrounding counties. So getting more involved there, and I've always felt that there's more of a need in our organization for things for lawn and landscape contractors. So the nursery, or the organization historically was very nursery based. It used to be the Florida Nursery Growers Association, and then at some point in history, two organizations merged, and then they stuck the landscape in there. So, we have a great trade show down in Orlando in August. There's probably like 7,000 attendees. It's called the Landscape Show, and so that's every August. Great show, tons of equipment, tons of plants, great networking event for people. But it's indoors at the the Orange County Convention Center. So we can't run into the equipment. We can't touch the equipment. And so we were trying to bring something to the industry, one where business owners can go and demo equipment, touch equipment without having to go all the way to Kentucky to go to the Equip Expo, which I guess now that I hear last week, we're going to have the Equip Expo in Orlando for a few seasons. So I know there's a lot of people sad about that, but I think at the end of the day, as long as they can find an outdoor demo area, Orlando's not a bad place to travel in and out of. So I personally would not want to live there, but it's not a bad place to have events. So, taking kind of the theme of Equip with, some demo areas and be able to run equipment. And then myself and then Erin Alvarez she's actually come on board recently from the University of Florida to be our business development manager here at Skyfrog. And she and I met in college. We worked together for 2 years and had a small design build company. And we went to they called it Student Career Days then, but now it's the National Collegiate Landscape Competition.
Okay.
The UF, when we were at University of Florida, we put a team together. I think we went to 3 separate competitions. And so that kind of always stuck with me. It was like a really good time for us as students, and then a networking event for us as students. I mean, we got recruited, like it was the NFL draft, by the companies that were there. Like it was, if you went there as a student and didn't walk away with a job somewhere in the country, there was a problem. And that's how I ended up working for Austin Outdoor after college, as they were acquired by the Yellowstone groups. Kind of in that time of history, Austin Outdoor is one of the Yellowstone group's first 3 companies they acquired. I was recruited to work there, and then had my entrepreneurial seizure and decided to go work for myself with Skyfrog. But as we were looking for in the Front Runners chapter, as we were looking for a kind of a new flagship event for us for years, we have a great botanical garden here in Gainesville. And they would do, parking and a plant auction and a couple different things at the Spring Garden Festival. And then that kind of fell by the wayside a few years ago. So we've been looking for a new fundraising event for the chapter. And 5 years ago at Skyfrog, we started, we're doing what we're doing for the Landscape Rodeo. So we started racing lawnmowers at our shop because we had Christmas parties We love to cook food. We cook the guys a bunch of good food. We give away raffle prizes and bonuses at the end of the year. And that's great. But everyone would just sit around like bumps on a log. It's kind of boring, a little depressing. It's like, what can we do to liven this up? So we tried cornhole and some other games, and that made it a little better. I just told everybody, it's like, well, we can just get some mowers out and race them like we did in college. And so that started it. And we normally do, 6 to 8 kind of events/competitions here at the shop. So one of the president of our chapter, Harry Love, he mentioned, he said, well, we just need to have a rodeo like you have at your shop. I said, well, buddy, I got the whole idea in my head. So we laid it all out on paper, and that's how it kind of started, just brainstorming things. And we've added on, going from what we do at our shop with some mower finesse competitions, I would say, and some handheld competitions. We've added in, we're going to be doing skid steer competitions, mini excavators, mini skid steers, mini articulating loaders. Our local rep, Jenny, with Hunter Irrigation, Hunter sponsoring the event. So she's doing how fast you can disassemble and reassemble a irrigation valve. And then I guess she does and I have not seen this yet, but she does a blindfolded spray head assembly. So she takes an irrigation head, takes it all apart, blindfolds you, and then you have to put it together blindfolded. So I thought it would be easy until she showed me a video of it, and it's just like, oh, that actually looks pretty hard. So I'm looking forward to trying that one. I told my guys about it, and I told them some of our crew is going to compete also. And I told them, I said, the events are. I said, you guys know what we do at the shop. Some of the events are going to be similar, so like they will have a little bit of a competitive advantage, just because they've seen it before. I said, there's a lot of stuff. I said, if you can just show up and compete. I said, or go on the website and look at the events and start practicing on your own. There's going to be 20. I think we're 22 events right now overall. So we're doing zero turn barrel racing is going to be one of the main events. It's a lot of fun. That's all I can say. It's a lot of fun. We did it on kind of spur of the moment. I was going over to the venue we had a meeting with their event coordinator, and a friend of mine owns the Ancient City Farmstead where we're going to be hosting in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
And so I called them up and I said, hey, do you have any barrels left over? So that they had an actual rodeo there at the venue. So do you have any barrels? He's like, yeah, I got barrels. It's like, okay, I'm going to bring a zero turn over. I said, and I want to try out zero turn barrel racing and see if it can be a thing. And if it is, then we're going to put it as a competition.
So
So we went out, and then of course the first time you do anything, it's the most fun, So we went out and we tried this, and we had an absolute blast. And we ran the mowers around, and we took some videos, and then apparently zero turn barrel racing videos are pretty popular on social media. So we've been able to gain some traction on social media with some of that content, and it's a really good time. So the mission behind all of it, is to get more exposure to lawn and landscape contractors in the state, get them exposure to the FNGLA organization, provide a hands-on networking event. And there's kind of multi-layers that the event's going to cover. And then, even bringing in, we've got some FFA students that are coming in, and they're actually going to be doing some of the competitions. And then, for all students, it's a no-cost ticket. Come in, whether you're in high school or a college horticulture program, whatever it is. We want the next generation to come in, and even if they don't go into the green industry, the trend of students not going to college, coming out of high school, it's a growing trend. I think we as an industry need to leverage our industry and show people that it's a real thing. It's not just out cutting grass. There's careers here. It's an enormous industry. Especially here in Florida, with the development of all the land, there's going to be less agriculture. Landscape maintenance is going to be one of the biggest things that there is to do because everything's developed in the houses. So it's sad to see all the development, but then at the end of it, it's creating more jobs and creating industry in our green industry.
Well, and I also think because of the overdevelopment, we need to be smarter in how we develop the land for
Absolutely
hooking up water. And so the design and build side becomes more critical the more development you have, as well as the maintenance.
Absolutely.
And you have to be smarter and smarter about it. So, yeah, I think our industry needs more visibility like this in every part of the country. So I really admire what you've taken on, and love that you've had experience with this just in your own company for 5 years, What have you learned over those 5 years that's folding into this landscape
I
rodeo?
mean, just for me, I've seen the proof of concept just with our team members at Skyfrog. So, getting now it's something they look forward to every year now. Like they know, and and we have a trophy in the shin. We give away some cash prizes, so we put money on it, which always encourages people to, get a little bit more into it and have fun. But,
Yes.
we got a trophy in the office that we do I don't know, it's our skills challenge champion, but it'd be like the grand champion of the three different mower competitions. So we
Okay.
do a 36-inch walk behind kind of in a serpentine cone course with tennis balls on the cones. So then it's based on deductions from how many tennis balls you knock off. And then, so then time is the tiebreaker. And so our champion, whoever has the lowest, it's based on, all right, now I got to roll this back in my head now. So we do it off of deductions. So it's who has the least amount of deductions across all events.
Okay.
And the guy that won this year, he's the only one that didn't have knock off any tennis balls. So he had a perfect score across the three events. So he won. And I think
So it wasn't, yeah, it's not just speed.
it's not just speed. So I think he had won one of the events, but then it was because he didn't hit anything that he won all of it. So, because we are trying to have fun and it's fun to drive the lawnmowers fast, we're trying not to have that be we catch a lot of flack from some of our videos and whatnot. It's like, oh, that's not how you drive in somebody's yard. It's just like, yeah, you're right. It's not how you drive in somebody's yard. But I said, we're testing your skill of operating the equipment, not performing the duty in someone's landscape. How well can you operate this piece of equipment? And we're just putting it
Yeah.
into a different category of operation
Don't
in the
do this at
field.
home.
Yeah, no,
Don't try this in your own yard or in your client's yard.
no, do not do this in your client's yard. It's we've had a lot of buy-in from them, and I think and in my experience with the NCLC when we went there, and of course that was a much more elaborate competition laid across days. So we're also with the Landscape Rodeo, it being our first year planning everything out. We're trying to keep everything simple and not overcomplicate it, especially with the competitions and judging. And when we would go to the NCLC, we'd have to show up 2 days early just to learn how we were going to be judged on our events. As a student there, you could do up to 5 events. Then you have to go. Some of them had pre-qualifying tests you'd have to take. So it was very in depth and very involved, much more
Elaborate.
real world I guess kind of real world operations, I guess, you know, mimicking what you would come across in the field
Yeah.
in certain scenarios. But even there, they had a landscape. I can't remember what they called it. It was like their landscape maintenance competition. But I remember going through it and, you didn't have any of the equipment turned on. It's like you're pretending to weed eat. You're telling the judges, this is how I would weed eat. This is the best way. So it's like some of the events were a lot of fun. And then that one's just like, well, man, like we need to be like running the lawnmower. So now we've taken that part of it and that's all we're doing. So we're taking the fun part. And we want, as business owners and managers, we go to a lot of networking events. We go to Sync Live. We go to our landscape show down in Orlando. We go to Equip Expo, for education and networking as entrepreneurs. Then, for the guys in the field, our frontline guys, they're just out working every day. It's like, well, let's make an event for everybody. We can network as entrepreneurs. Guys in the field can have a great time. We can try to get students in. So it's really a multi-layered thing that we're trying to accomplish, or a lot of multi-layered goals that we're trying to accomplish with this.
And you're also raising money for your association to do more.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So we're, with those funds, they go back into our Front Runners chapter, and we do a lot of stuff. We do community service projects, scholarships for kids. So I would like to see, some of those funds, especially used towards FFA. We sponsor our, I believe it's District 4 that we sponsor as a chapter. It's our local area of FFA. So we're trying to become more involved in that local district and all the chapters. So it will be a very, very good thing long term. And then Aaron Alvarez, who I mentioned earlier, the University of Florida has dissolved their horticulture department, which we're very sad for. And they've kind of disbanded all of the people across other departments, which they're pitching, which I'm also, I have a degree from there and I'm a very proud alumni, but I'm very sad that they're doing this. So I don't think it's good for our industry or, our local horticulture education to where we're at, instead of UF being the premier agriculture, school and taking, trying to take a leadership role in the green industry, they're kind of going backwards, in my opinion. So Aaron and I are going to be teaching an applied landscape management certificate class at Santa Fe College this year, which is our local in Gainesville. It's our local, was community colleges. Now in Florida, all of the community colleges are now 4-year state colleges.
Okay.
So we're slated this semester to teach our first certificate class with that, because I really think that whether it's students coming into the industry from high school or, a lot of the things we're going to cover in that course are going to be, for someone that's never experienced the industry or somebody that's just getting started and maybe is already working in the field and they just want to learn some new things. This first course that we're going to teach is just a overview course. It's a 12-week class, 3 hours a week. It's going to be probably 45 minutes of lecture. The last 2 hours will be doing something hands-on in the field, whether it's, planting trees, installing irrigation, landscape lighting, with some hardscape stuff. So we're going to try to cover some hands-on things, even outside of the classroom, lecture setting. And then we're going to see how this first certificate class goes and then hopefully expand it into some more detailed courses. Just trying to have something local. There's some really good programs across the country that are 2-year programs and, technical schools. And, in our area in Florida, we're kind of lacking in that. We have Florida Gateway College. It's about 45 minutes north of Gainesville. They've got a program that they had for years, probably maybe it stopped in like 2010, but they had a great 2-year program where they did golf course management and I think golf course, and then maybe just general landscape management. But that course has been revived at Gateway College, but it's all online. So it's students everywhere. There's no hands-on component. And I really think that the hands-on component needs to be a big part of it. You can talk and talk all you want and pass the test, but if you go out because even when we went to school at UF, we had a landscape operations management course was the name of it. We went out and installed irrigation, and I didn't know anything about irrigation. Well, we didn't install any irrigation. We laid out the parts on top of the ground and pretended and just talked about how we would install it, but we weren't digging trenches. We weren't cutting pipe. We weren't gluing pipe. We weren't wiring up the controller. We weren't setting rotor heads. So, these little things that are our day to day is, we get going in the industry and it's just for an industry employee or worker, it's just an everyday thing, but going into it, somebody's got to teach them that. So if we can at least teach some basics to someone and then have an added value to an employer.
Yeah. Well, we have so many small businesses. If you don't teach them before they get into the business, it does make it harder for a small business owner to hire somebody if you don't have training in-house. Small businesses don't, that's a whole side gig,
Then,
so it gives them a step on the ladder of getting into a company.
and even now, and even if somebody wants to go start their own business, there's a ton of between podcasts and YouTube and networking events. There's so much education and free education and information out now, on how to operate a business and grow a business and be successful and more in entrepreneurship. But somebody can go out and learn all the things now about how to start a business, but it's still the technical work. If you've never done it in the industry, you might need to have. I remember, I didn't know how to set a rotor irrigation head. I didn't know how to do it. Even after I graduated college and I worked for Yellowstone, I still didn't know. I never was installing irrigation. So I remember having to call the irrigation supply store and having to ask them once I got started and was working on my own. It's just like, man, Danny, how do I adjust this PGP? I said, this thing's killing me. And then he told me, it's just like, oh man, I wish somebody would have taught me that, even little things like that. That's a very minor thing, but if you already know how to do it, whenever you get going, it's a good skill to have.
There's a lot of technical details that, when these courses are closing, we need something to fill that gap. Gosh, Jason, we've talked about all kind of things. There's so much to unpack here. I want to know more about this course at a later date, but
absolutely.
Let's get back to the Landscape Rodeo, because I don't want people to not have the date, the information.
Sure. Yeah.
Fill us in on that.
Yes. So the event is next Friday, which will be February 20th. We're having a VIP dinner Thursday night, Low Country Boil for the sponsors and vendors. And then also we're selling tickets to that dinner. And that will be from 6 to 9 on Thursday. Thursday is going to be setup day for vendors. So we'll be setting up the courses, bringing equipment in. Registration is going to start at 7 a.m. on February 20th, and it'll run for as long as it needs to, but from 7 to 9, there's our plan of having open registration, bringing everybody in, have a little opening ceremony, announcements, and then get right into the competitions. So we're going to split the competitions. The zero-turn barrel racing, depending on attendees, might be the only one. It runs pretty quick though, so I think we'll be able to keep it at a half day, but it might be the only one that we extend into a full day, depending on numbers of competitors. But then we'll kind of have the event split, half in the morning, half in the afternoon. We'll wrap up at about 4:00, tally up all the totals for the events, see who wins. We've got belt buckles for prizes.
Cool.
Tony Bassett, Super Lawn Trucks, and Hustler Turf have come on as our title sponsors. So Hustler's got swag bags for everybody. Mowmore.com is sending down some Velcro trash bags that go on lawnmowers. So we're going to have some swag to give away. There'll be some other prizes. Some of the sponsors and vendors are going to be doing their own raffles in their booths and demo areas. So I think there's going to be some coolers given away and other random merch and things like that. So, and then we're also doing we're calling it the Landscape Decathlon. But whoever has the lowest average ranking across 10 events, we're putting $1,000 cash prize down. So, and it's only $5 to register for an event. So it's $5 a competition. So for $5, I'm telling everybody, for $5, it is well worth your investment to come out and at least try the zero-turn barrel racing, because it's a heck of a lot of fun. So, but it's $5 an event. And our idea with that was, whether you're an owner operator or somebody just starting out, we want you to come have fun for a day, spend the whole day out networking and really get everyone involved. So it's like, all right, $5 an event. If somebody wants to do 10 events, that's $50. That's not bad. And then on the flip side, if Yellowstone or Brightview or United Land Services, if they want to send, 10 or 12 guys, then it's not going to break their bank either at the larger company level. And I think we're going to have, I started out with Skyfrog. I told the guys, it's like, okay, well, we've already had our qualifying round. I said, the guys that won their events and were our internal champions, that I'm going to pay your way and you guys can come compete. And then, there's another 4 or 5 of them. It's like, well, I want to go. It's just like, okay, all right. Anybody wants to go, I'll pay the way. I said, but these guys specifically, they're definitely as many events as they want to sign up for. I'll let them do it. But that's sorry. I had a message there.
What's the website? How do they sign up? Because we really want people to sign up ahead of the day and not register on the day of the event, although they can.
They can. We will be taking registrations, but it will help us greatly with the efficiency of the day and moving through the morning if we have everything lined up, mainly so that we can have shirt sizes. We've got some competitor shirts that we're going to be giving away, and mainly so we can have shirt sizes already coordinated with swag bags and with their swag bags and competitors' numbers. Sorry, I was trying to process my thought there. So anyway, we're going to have competitors' numbers to keep track of everything, swag bags, T-shirts. So as they get registered in the morning and come through the slot, we'll be handing out everything to everybody. But it's thelandscaperodeo.com, and there's a ticketing or sign up today page there. Just click the button and it'll take you straight to the ticketing platform. Register for as many events as you want. If you register for 10 or more, it automatically qualifies you to be in the Landscape Decathlon. You can also find us on all the social media. I think we're covered most of the bases on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's all the Landscape Rodeo. So
awesome.
That's the best way to find us.
Can't wait to see how it goes. I know it's going to be very successful and a lot of fun. Thanks for giving back to the industry, because this type of event, has a real potential to get people excited about our industry, coming into our industry, raising money for the association. A lot of good. So thank you,
absolutely.
Jason.
And it's open. We have, I saw it on the ticketing platform yesterday. Somebody registered in Arizona. So I don't know if they're actually in Arizona or Florida. We'll find out. Friend of mine from Smith Landscape is coming down from Michigan. So, it's definitely a Florida event. It's very easy if you drive from here, but it's welcome to anybody across the country. If you want to come down here to Florida and avoid some snow and cold weather, come have some Florida man fun with us. It's so we're gonna be doing it on February 20th. So we welcome anybody. I had a lady message me on TikTok from Texas, and she asked that specifically. She said, well, can you come if you're not from Florida? And I said, of course. She's like, well, we're in Texas and my husband thinks this would be a great team building opportunity for his
Yeah.
guys. I said, well, great. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing. So you're more than welcome to come. So yeah, we're looking forward to it and looking forward to game day. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the podcast today. And I hope we help, get the word out a bit further. And yeah, I plan to be there. This shoulder surgery is delaying me on a lot of things. I will be at the next one for sure. So
I like it. I like it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jason. Thanks for being on today and good luck with your event.
All right. Thank you very much, Angelique.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.